Welcome back. This is Chief Delegate meeting number 21. All 6 of us are present. It's March 10th, 2022, and we're just going to get right into it today with some individual updates. John, take it away.
More Fractally stuff. I'm also working on a sort of PowerPoint presentation to do at a crypto meetup here locally. Hopefully I can record it, sort of share it out to the community. But yeah, I'll be sort of like standing in front of a screen and talking to people. So yeah.
I'm just going to go down the screen. Next I got Randall.
Hello everybody. So basically for EOS support, we've been working hard on building. We are on pace to hopefully maybe have our platform up, the final platform maybe by April. The second thing is we've received some tickets on the network acting funny sometimes. We spoke to I think Matthew, and Matthew said that some of the transactions were just getting lost. So the good thing is the API group are working on tools that will help us to actually see what's going on in the network. And we are fortunate enough that the group have decided to also educate us a little bit so that we can get some basic information to look at what's going on in the network and be able to use that to provide support for the end users. So that's something that I'm very happy about. So all in all, things are going well, and we are on pace to build something very nice for the community. Oh, actually, one more thing that I almost forgot. We have our own little consensus building going on. We have a team called the EOS Support Squad. We are starting like consensus building to make sure that we pay people who are providing support content, helping their community. So shout out to Mel. He's working on something in London. So that's something that I'm very interested in. Shout out to Sangyeon. He's providing a group of people support and teaching them how for them to help the Korean community. So pretty much things are going well, and we are using that consensus building to reward those guys who are helping provide support in their communities and also to build their communities. That's about it.
Hey everyone, hope everyone had a good week. The bees were very busy this week. We launched our Instagram strategy called EOS Memes with a Z, EOS.memes handle. We are putting all the memes that are coming out from the hives. I want to give a special shout out to the Hindi hive. They're doing a great job with the memes. This is, I think, a good strategy to get EOS noticed on Instagram. So that was launched today. We'll be posting every day, 1 meme per day. Hopefully we can continue to get followers on that page. We also launched EOS Rants with Nova Crypto. This is a mind map with short form video content inspired by Yves LaRose. We're doing a Twitter competition every week. Yves has graciously offered to match the rewards of 25 to the winner and 10 to a randomly selected rant. So that's 50 and 20, at least for a few rounds or a few weeks, Yves said, or as long as he feels like it. So thank you, Yves. And please participate, get your rants out. Doesn't need to be high quality video, just record yourself, upload to YouTube. We want to do this because when we have new community members, this is in part of our suite of EOS beginner content. We have our DApp ecosystem image, we have the EOS beginner's guide, and now we have this. And they can look at the mind map and learn about the EOS community. I think it's a great way to learn about the EOS community. We're working on our February report. We're finished. We're just making it look pretty. I'm going to just provide a couple of interesting stats. So we spent 3,000 EOS on bounty funds. So our bounties go to specific work items. We have a pie chart that separates the bounty funds by contest type. And so our biggest allocations, 20.3% to influencers, 21.6% to translations, 14.7% social media posts, 8% to video, and 7% to articles. Translations and influencers were what I asked for. This is what I consider like our lowest hanging and our highest hanging fruit. And so really happy with our progress in February, and we'll be coming out with that report next week. We also came out with an article or a proposal for an onboarding and referral system that Randall and I have been working on. So I made it public. I wrote an article. The goal of the proposal is to qualify people to give them free EOS accounts, and not only give them free EOS accounts, pay them to set up an EOS account. This is the plan to solve the fundamental problem on EOS of our account creation problem or bottleneck where they're used to proof of work chains with free accounts, but with the UTXO transaction fee, whatever. Super excited to work with Randall on that. And the bees will be using that heavily once Randall and his team builds that on eosupport.com. We had a couple bee signals this week. That's when we see very negative posts out there and the bees comment on it. Crypto Wizard, 300,000 followers, tweeting that EOS is dead. And then James Spidiacci, 11,000 followers, calling EOS a VC-backed centralized database. And so EOS is dead, EOS is centralized. Those are the common ones. And we did it. We commented. We had around 50 Bs. So hopefully people saw our comments and had a different idea of what was actually in the tweet. And finally, we translated the Fractally white paper into Chinese, Korean, Spanish, Turkish, and Vietnamese. And we're very happy to do that for the Fractally team to promote the ideas of Fractally. Yeah, that's a report. I'm sorry. I just want to thank Lovejoy and John for donating for our work for the translations. Thanks, guys. And there were a couple of couple of the delegates. Ami and one other delegate. I'm so sorry.
Elias.
Yes. Thank you, Lovejoy. So thanks, guys.
Go team. Not much of an update. The My Vote EOS campaign hasn't really kicked off hard yet. Han's kind of the main guy behind it, and he was traveling and then not feeling well, so kind of delayed the big push. But it's sort of coming out. And in Korea, South Korea, they recently had a presidential election, and looks like the gentleman who won by a very slim margin is going to deregulate crypto and help open it up. So that bodes well to sort of part of the My Vote EOS campaign's main driver or main force we have is trying to create a relationship with the Upbit exchange that has something like 130 million EOS that are not being voted. So that's one of the whole kind of the big purpose or the big sort of the teeth behind this organization, the myvoteeos.com organization, is that if we can get the tokens behind Upbit voting in alignment with the BPs that sign up to this org, they would be pretty quickly catapulted into a very high position. With a few extra votes, that could single-handedly redefine the top 21. It's very ambitious, but that's sort of the intention. So anyway, that's happening slowly, and the majority of my leftover Eden Chief Delegate funding will go towards that group to kind of keep it moving and have this campaign kind of have some legs over time to try to have it achieve its mission. Yeah, that's basically it.
All right, Aaron.
There's code reviews going on right now for some of these new account creation libraries. I've been watching a couple of our developers going back and forth on ways to optimize it and make sure we're not going to break any reverse compatibility. I have not been the reviewer, so I don't know much more than that. So that's where that's at. Randall, I have been talking with one of my new guys, and I may send him your way to volunteer with some support stuff, not expecting anything in return. What we get out of return of that is just him gaining more knowledge on kind of the forefront and being able to serve as another point of contact for you and your team. He's helping us with Anchor QA. He's doing systems administration, and I kind of told him, I was like, I want you over the course of the next year or so to really become an expert in EOS.io stuff, like the user experience type stuff, because that'll be really valuable for us. And I figured I'd help you guys out too. So you can expect that to happen at some point. Yeah, there's a lot of other things going on, not exactly related to Eden stuff, but yeah, that's my update.
For myself, I've been doing some writing, which mostly is going to be coming out on the ENF side of things, and then working on just building some bridges between the various teams working on EOS, just trying to connect some of the factions that are maybe missing each other right now. Yeah, just trying to align interests there. As Jesse indicated, I made a donation to the translation efforts for Fractally, and communicating a little bit with the Chinese community and trying to keep track of what's going on there with their Eden that's getting formed. That's exciting, and I look forward to seeing how that all dovetails with what we're going to talk about maybe next, which is Eden independence. Randall, do you want to kick us off and give us a little intro into what you've been working on?
I spoke to a couple of developers to see how we can move forward. If Eden is to be by itself without the Fractally team, I discussed with my engineer, the guy who helps me with smart contract. He's a full stack developer, very, very knowledgeable, white hat hacker, very good, and brought it up to him. So he's willing to do it. But the thing is, we want to make sure that other teams come forward first. If they want to do it, and someone want to take over it, is fine. If Fractally wants to take over it, is fine. But if not, he's willing to help us manage the code and run elections. So that's something that he decided on. The second thing is I spoke to Zero Pass to see what we could do to make the software a little bit polished, to make onboarding better. And basically, they are also willing to work with us if we can get the funding that Eden needs to manage the code and stuff like that. So that is also a good sign. So all in all, it seemed like we have a couple of engineers who are willing to take on the challenge, but at the same time, we want to make sure that other teams, including Fractally, get the opportunity to express what they want to do and how the transition is going to be handled, so that we can break free in a nice and smooth way, so that Eden can be on his own and for us to leave it to the community pretty much.
I guess I'm just excited to see some momentum happening. The future is pretty uncertain right now with what's going on. And I think we, as a group, need to kind of talk about those types of things we need to see change to keep this engine moving. At the bare minimum, this process is good for distributing funds to projects within the community through a unique mechanism that should continue forward. Even if we just align it with pomelo seasons or something, it can continue until something better exists to replace it. That's basically where I'm at.
So there were a couple things that Aaron, that you came up with, like some simple things to change in the smart contract. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
I think some of the things we need right now is we need to come up with a shorter election cycle. Like if we said we wanted to align with Fractally and do weekly meetings in Eden and do distribution, that's going to be a taller ask than, let's say, we wanted to do monthly or bi-monthly. If we just want to go bi-monthly or monthly, we shouldn't have to change any of the payout code because payouts happen once per month. But if we want to go under the 1 month time frame for whatever reason, the way that payouts happen in the Eden contracts is going to have to be modified to accommodate that. So the level of effort is going to increase the minute we try to go under a month. Moving on from that idea, it's the potential removal of sortition. I don't know, or the changing of sortition to be less impactful, I guess is maybe the best way to put it. Right now, it's roughly 4 times greater than an individual chief, delegate's budget. That number should be less. What else did I have?
So there's the third thing was to get rid of the 10 EOS onboarding fee.
Mm-hmm.
And in terms of deliberating with the community, the delegates had a call, and there seemed to be consensus on the direction that you described, Aaron. But in terms of like the actual number, I feel like someone like our group needs to just pick a number and then see how the community reacts after we pick a number and can agree on a number.
The one thing that we should try to, this came up on the delegate call the other day, where there is a line in the peace treaty that says the bylaws have to be one complete holistic document. And so the ratification process can't be piecemeal. I think that's way too aggressive to it's going to slow progress. If there's one little thing in there that someone or 2 people in the next set of chief delegates don't like, and all of a sudden this whole thing gets tossed out because it'd be nice if we could maybe allow the option for it to be piecemeal. Yeah, I think the thing we need to be cognizant of is the terms or the conditions in which the network provided these funds to. So there's an understanding of how Eden was to be running, and then the network gave Eden a bunch of dough. So if we start to just totally fuck with the rules, then we become delegitimate. And so that's the idea of Dan did claim to have these God powers over the bylaws and the peace treaty. So if we can just get him to tweak a couple things and we just sort of I mean, we're kludging it, certainly, but at least it's legitimate. Like, we're following the rules as we all understood them. And so I don't know, maybe I'm overthinking how necessary it is to do that, but
Well, we'll quickly find out. I mean, if we manage to navigate to a new state of laws or whatnot, like we'll quickly find out whether the network supports us or not. So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
So can we go ahead and maybe do the first proposal or try to decide on the first number?
I think the mission statement has to be talked about a little bit so that we can capture that. And then maybe after that, we can move on to, the other steps, because I feel like the other steps it will be decided if we know exactly what it on EOS is supposed to be.
In reality, this organization is to the benefit of EOS, period. Like, there's nothing else to it.
Yeah, but there's so many ways to benefit EOS. So someone thinks it's gonna, we're gonna benefit EOS through governance, and other people say, no, we're just gonna benefit EOS through, this fancy way of handing out funds. Like, we just gotta figure out which method it is, kind of thing.
No, all of them are valid.
Yeah, why can't we have a broad mission statement?
Chuck had a good one. Chuck says to increase the value of EOS.
That one, I think the wording is a little rough on that one because it makes it sound like our goal is to pump the token price.
Exactly.
But I mean,
I think that one everyone can agree to.
Who's
that.
gonna say no to that?
Create
True.
value might be a better.
yeah.
To create value for EOS.
You got to remove all the commonality and just boil it down to its essence.
All right. So what would that be?
To create value for the EOS
To create.
community or EOS ecosystem.
Okay, that's nice and simple.
That's what we're doing.
Create value.
We're trying, not every attempt of every member is going to succeed, and that's to be expected.
I'd get behind that. It's very simple. To create value for the EOS ecosystem.
Yeah, and for us to do that, we have to run more election. We have to iterate as much as possible.
All right, so we finally got a mission statement. Congratulations, everyone.
It was so difficult.
Now we just need it to be ratified by the next chief.
Yeah. Okay. So that's point number one. Can we move on to the next point?
So the next point is the elections, right? Election cycle.
Yeah, the election cycle is the next point. I would put my vote for 3 months. Does anyone else think 3 months?
I was thinking 1 or 2.
That's
I
kind
was
of where I
leaning more
was.
towards.
All right, I'll be in the
One.
middle. I will be in the middle for 2 because
Yeah, I would say let's try to just keep building our proposal because we're running out of time. Not today.
3
but
months.
just generally. Like
3
only have
months
a
is
few days left.
conservative. It's a very conservative approach. I mean, if we said 1 month, I'd be a little more concerned that we were, pushing our luck a little bit. But 3 months gives
That's
us a little.
market change. That's half what we just did. So that's a pretty big change right there. And if it turns out after 3 months, they're like, no, we need to do it more frequently, then the next CDs can do it. Yeah.
We'll be closer to being able to do that. I think it makes sense.
So
If
the next
there
one's a
are-
bit harder, which is the sortition funding versus the non-sortition winners. So currently, Aaron said it was 4x. What should it be changed to?
Or
All right, so we
more.
have Aaron voted 0.
I
like what
zero.
Chuck wrote.
I think 0 is fine.
Chuck said that this I like his where the head there is no head, like we're all equal as chief delegates, and then the head chief, what would have been that amount, is held in an MSEG that we all 2/3 plus 1 would be able to spend from,
Yeah.
because
That's-
that could then fund.
Well, sorry, I
the
didn't get that.
website.
What was that last part?
So
About the
instead of having, so we would all have equal amount. So Aaron would be in the same, we would all have the same budget. And then that extra amount, that's like whatever, 5 times, or I forget the multiple of that extra amount that the head chief would have gotten, just goes to all of us. And there's an MSIG that we then control. And that would fund. So then if we have to pay for the next election, we would then vote to make sure we allocate some money for that. And if one of us has a great cause, we'd spend it to that. And if we want to pay for a website, we could do it on that. Like, it kind of solves that core funding problem.
Yeah, I like it.
Aaron or John, are there any technical limitations to that approach?
Yes. It would
Well,
require coding.
The
It doesn't
contracts,
exist.
the contracts are expecting to figure out a sortition winner. It's not going to finish the election until someone's picked. I'm sure we can change how much they get, but on a contract level, there's always going to be a head delegate unless you make that change on that level. We could just ignore who the head delegate is but on a contract level, I imagine it's still going to be there.
I personally don't think we should remove sortition entirely. I'm in favor of mitigating the effect of sortition, but I like that there's kind of like one person who
It
gets that.
depends on the scope. Sortition is more based on governance stuff rather than money kind of thing, I think, anyway. So is it it depends on the governance powers and how we structure governance in Eden, and then you can figure out what to do with a sortition
Maybe
winner.
let's change the percentage. If that's the case, we change the percentage to make the money a little bit smaller. And
Like,
then we can go from there.
So governance wise, like voting powers, everyone should be equal. Like the sortition winner shouldn't have any further powers than the average chief delegate.
Maybe
Yeah.
they have a weight of 2 instead of 1.
I mean, let's be honest here. There is no governance responsibility of this
Right.
besides making
Well,
these rules.
Well, there
Yeah,
are
there's
kind of-
there's
I
still
mean,
the internal voting like we're doing, now.
Mhm.
We've just asked for 5 votes out of 6. So like that itself is an unofficial rule at the moment.
True.
Mhm.
And as we're doing it right now, my vote is equal to all of yours.
yeah, but you could claim that you were more.
Okay, then I'm setting precedent that my vote is not any greater than yours.
Yeah, we never really worked that out, and it wasn't written down anywhere in the bylaws. So
I think we
we're
should
kind of
go equal.
So-
It makes sense that way.
So just to summarize, there's a technical limitation of excluding or getting rid of a sortition winner. And so perhaps to make this as simplest of a transition as possible, we do something like the head sortition winner maybe gets 1.5x instead of 4x. That's
Yeah.
my number.
Yeah, that's fine.
And what do you want to do with the delta?
It distributes to
Leave it
everyone.
in the treasury.
Or put it in a pot, a central account that we that's probably too much coding now, but
No, why
Yeah,
can't just everyone
I'm
else get
quickly
a
looking at the contract.
Just
Mike-
share it out amongst the other
Yeah,
chief
we can
delegates.
share
It's
it.
the
Yeah.
easiest.
yeah.
All
All right. So the
Bye.
next
What's next?
we have consensus. This is miraculous.
Are we tracking
So
this in
far?
the Google Doc or what?
Yeah. Chris has got it. Chris has got it.
Chris, do you want to show your screen just so we can keep a track of what the hell we've agreed to?
thank you.
3, 5, 8.
So that's that one. They don't need to be green anymore. And then the only other one we had was the election for every 3 months.
The next thing to decide on is the Eden onboarding. And I think before we should talk about it, John or Aaron should describe the technical limitations behind, for example, not requiring a 10 EOS fee to onboard.
I was just gonna say, I'd like to hear somebody justify it. I
Yeah,
don't think it's needed anymore.
I've had quite a few experiences with my bees who want to join Eden, but can't because they live in low-income areas around the world. And I have even, I've loaned out EOS to some of my bees to pay for it. And then with their bee salary and bounties that they make, they pay the loan back.
I mean, we don't have a problem with like too many people joining right now. In fact, we have the opposite problem, if anything. And so, and skin in the game is not just money. Like showing up and participating is skin in the game. Arguably, that's even more valuable skin in the game than just money, because like money is easy to come by for some people.
We can get rid of it.
I don't say get rid of it, but I say reduce it personally.
So interestingly, the actual like the peace treaty we signed on to doesn't mention the 10 EOS. It's only the modifications that were proposed by Dan that show the 10 EOS, which I don't think were ever officially ratified. Like they were just proposed. They never actually became in effect. So
Correct.
this
Correct.
10 EOS dues is kind of not even part of our official rules.
I think we should make it 3.33. No, I'm just kidding. But something like it just needs to be a token amount. Like, it's just the symbolic act of offering to part with something. And it does provide some protection against attacks, at least in our current form. I don't know what Factly does to mitigate attack vectors otherwise, but forget about Factly for now. I'd say just lower it extremely.
That's
Okay, 2
Why not?
years. Is
I'm a-
2 years okay? I think 2 years is fine.
I like 3. 3 is a magic number.
Yeah.
All
Which
right,
one is
so
that?
can we try to vote again for 3 EOS?
I like 3.
If it's less than 10, I agree.
All right, so we have 4.
Motion passed.
All right.
John is abstaining.
abstain.
If you had to pick a number less than 10, what would it be, John? Out of curiosity.
Would have been
9.99.
9.5.
That's really gradual.
Yeah.
Thousands of years.
It goes down by 1/10 of an EOS
Yeah.
every election cycle.
Okay, so that one's good. What's next?
English speaking proficiency and standard of membership.
Isn't that already a thing?
It is.
Yeah, but how the
Then
hell do
do
we
we wanna-
enforce it?
It sounds like a lot of coding to enforce it.
That's the things that I'm bringing up are all really minor changes, and that was on purpose because we can effectively make these changes and propose these changes. Enforcing a language is something that happened like day 2 of this election cycle, and nobody's ever proposed an actual solution, let alone one that's really easy to make. So if you have a solution, I think we're on board. Like, communication sucks. I had somebody that could barely speak English in my call, and we probably spent 10 or 15 minutes trying to get them to understand what was happening. So it does burn into that time because we do have that finite timeline. We language is a barrier, and we do need the people to speak the same language to make this process work. So
Yeah.
I agree with your principle. I just don't have a solution.
Before, I guess that, like eviction, do we have a button where we can evict members?
We've had this conversation so many times before in Telegram and elsewhere, and to me it's like, okay, yeah, we all know we don't want to have somebody trying to participate in the fractal democracy that we can't communicate with, because that just sucks for everybody. But on the other hand, there are people that are interested in this process that we want to make sure that they find someplace they can participate in. So say you've got somebody that speaks French or Korean or whatever, and they don't speak English, but maybe they speak a little bit of English, enough to just cause trouble. There's got to be a way to not just boot them and make them hate us, but like, oh, you want this door over here, let us shepherd you into this other language group. Jesse, I'm gonna need your help here. And we find a way to onboard them into that Eden org, you know what I mean? Because the way that, frankly, that Dan approached it the first time, he was like, everyone should just resign if you're not, if you don't speak English. That was so off-putting to so many people that really care. Maybe EOS token holders, but don't speak great English and were just really interested in the process and got involved and paid 10 EOS. If guests show up to your house, but they can't contribute, you don't just kick them out. You just say oh, our neighbors are having a barbecue. You might really get along with them. You should go kick it with the neighbors. You're just not going to have fun here because you can't participate in this game. So I'm just urging us to find a way
I could
to
propose the neighbor is EOSBs, the neighbor is EOS support. If they can't do Eden. And I would also say that, Aaron, you described some language barrier challenges, but I think the system corrected itself for that, because that person did move on who didn't speak the language well. Yes, the UX is not so great, but I don't think any of the people who did not speak English well moved on from the first round.
No, they didn't, but
No, but that
it
was
still burned time. We're also lucky that in that instance, not everybody was pitching projects, because that 15 minutes out of what was it, 40, 50 minutes that we had, if we had every other member of that group pitching to actually move on, that might have eaten that time and made it unfair to someone else.
For me, I was thinking that we needed one witness has to be from support. Okay, so if we're about it on board, you get one witness from support, and then you bring your other witness if you want to, or we can give you 2 witnesses, and then we will make sure that you can speak English and that you're also interested in EOS. We will verify everything, check it off, and then after that we can move forward. And That was
Maybe,
something
yeah.
that I was thinking about, but then when Fractally started heating up, we let go of that thought. But I think that's something that we should start thinking about, right? That if you want to onboard someone, it's very difficult to get the timing right. For support agents, they are 24/7. You can get some witnesses from there, or you can get one witness. There has to be one witness who's a support agent to verify, to make sure that everyone did things properly and check all things off, and then bring the person into the Telegram group, make everything all nice and tidy.
That makes more sense. I like that idea.
What are the technical limitations behind that idea?
There's no way to prevent a group of people from onboarding somebody that doesn't speak English, because there's no requirement to have that gatekeeper in place.
But
Well,
I think it's doable.
we could make that requirement.
From a marketing perspective. If we just set the expectation, like, here's how you onboard into Eden. You go to eosupport.com and then you invite 2 other friends. And if we just push that narrative, I think it could work.
In addition to that, say I want to bring somebody in, I could go to EOS Support and say, hey, I want to bring this person in. So EOS Support just kind of becomes the gateway that you go through with onboarding. Not that it has to originate with like some random person reaching out to EOS Support, but that no matter which way we go, there's this like quality control stage that is administered by EOS Support.
I like it.
More work for EOS Support.
It's true.
Hey, we are trying to get 2,000 members. So as time goes on, the more work, the more we can bring people to help, and the more we will grow the EOS community and have everyone in the community have something to do. Because that's how you actually build a community, when people have something to do and they feel like they're part of something. There's another thing that came up when I was speaking to Chuck. We had election and some people, they didn't make it to the next step, but those people, we forgot about them, right? So the delegates are having their weekly meetings or bi-weekly meetings. Chief delegates are having their weekly meetings, but the rest of Eden, they have nothing to do. And for 6 months, we lost some of them, right? So
Maybe a lot of them.
Yeah. So what do we do? What do we do for that 3-month interval? So I think I had a solution. The people that get elected, it's either you meet up with your first rounders or your second rounders and let them know what you've done. Just meet up with them, right? So they feel part of this system. And then the ones who want to do other things that did not get voted into things, or their projects did not get voted, they can join something in the community. So we have to come up with initiatives that people can join, right? So those things will allow people to become a little bit more engaged. That's number one. And number two, it will allow for the delegates to actually have some sort of accountability and responsibility, because you are meeting up with the people who voted for you to move on, right? So by doing that, you are engaging. And the people that voted for you, if they're not happy with what you are doing, they would just go on Telegram or Discord and blow a whistle, right? Talk about it. Like, this person, I voted for that person to use this money to do this, but this is what they are doing and I don't agree. So there can be a little bit of accountability and transparency there if we want to go that route.
This is an argument for more frequent than 3-month elections, essentially, because the longer we go between elections, the more people check out because they don't have anything to do if they didn't get elected. So this is where I am fundamentally more in favor, again, of like monthly. Honestly, I've really found Douglas Bootner's proposal to do bi-weekly really like on the new moon and the full moon. I thought that was pretty genius. All right, this is kind of meta.
It really is. And I don't think there's an easy solution here.
No, I have a further meta idea that I wanted to like.
Oh, you're going deeper. Okay.
Yeah.
Lead us.
Well, what if this is crazy? Just hear me out. What if there was a sub election? Like, it doesn't even have to be formal. It doesn't have to be on the smart contract. The delegate level people could essentially administer the election that would run again with all the people that weren't elected as delegates to keep them engaged in that 3-month period. Because, we're definitely missing people for sure that are not. Anytime there's a group with 2 like value creators, only one of them is going to advance, 2 or more.
I think
we
it's
could do like a nested secondary election potentially.
it is a loser's bracket for the political playoffs.
Yeah. Yep.
Like if you think about normal playoffs having losers brackets, that's
Yep.
a
Totally.
decent analogy there.
Probably wouldn't want to market it as losers, but yeah.
That's just
what do you want
as
to
a
do with the
technical-
losers bracket when they go through?
If the goal is to keep people engaged, that would otherwise kind of like fade away. Like, oh, I'm not valued. I'm not going to stick around. It could be like a month or month. If it's a 3-month cycle, let's say it could be a month and a half after that first election. You do a secondary, or it could be like right away afterwards too. I don't know about the timing, but you could do a secondary election. And that election would basically like find those people that were kind of passed over and give them, at least give them a job, give them something to do, engage them in some way. The delegates could, it would be like the delegates' job essentially.
Yeah.
It would be to like the chief delegates are supposed to administer like this larger purse, but the delegates that only made it to the first round could essentially be like the community.
or maybe
How many people have reached out to us and said, "Hey, give me a job. What can I do for the Eden community? Is there, how can I assist you guys?"
So
Handful.
for support, what happened was
Yeah.
all the guys that I was in a group with, they reached out to me, and I was willing to reach out to them as well because some of them I called them, and now they are all part of support, right? Because I told some of them that they were going to be translated. Some of them wanted to translate in Russia. Some of them they wanted to build a community, the French community. So they are now all part of EU support, and I'm very happy about that. There's only one person that I've not been able to reach a consensus with or a contract with. He's a writer, okay, and he's expensive. So that's the only one person that I feel like I still have to. And for him, actually, that was during trial elections. That's when I told him that if I make it and I'm able to do things, I want to reach out to you and have you do the things that you wanted to do for EOS. Right. So I think majority of the time is upon the person who wins the election to really reach out to those guys. That's what it's about. Even if you don't give them anything, like the person I'm talking about, who's the writer, he has written for me. He actually wrote my proposal for Pomelo, and he never asked for anything. You see what I'm saying?
I think
So sometimes it's about making someone become engaged.
I think if there's a good way to do it without the smart contract, I don't think that's trivial. But if it can be done, I think it's a good idea. And I think the Chiefs would happily, chip in 50, 100 EOS each to fund that. And it's just one time. If we're doing it 45 days after the election, I like that. 3 months elections, the Chiefs put in 500, 600, 700 EOS, 6 consolation chiefs. And I think that's a good solution for the problem of losing first round Eden members.
It can be like a bounty, right? You just put it together. They'll run the election. Whoever wins it, give them the money, and that's it.
Yeah.
pull this back, like none of these ideas are going to be a part of the system or a part of the bylaws. They're all like the things you guys are talking about are activities that future delegates could perform.
Yeah.
Which I agree, like if a delegate wants to, or a group of delegates wants to do this stuff, like cool, that's awesome. But these aren't things we're going to be adding into bylaws or changing contracts or building user interfaces for, or if there is a real desire for this, and if we get the system running well and like the elections are managed or whatever, there's nothing to stop us from deploying the contract a second time and having a completely separate instance of Eden that is like, it could be that 45-day cycle that you were just talking about. Yeah. And then that meta Eden could be funded by chief delegates or whatever. Like that's just redeploying the system again. Like you could do this, but it's just external of this Eden process.
Yeah.
So the approach is just this Eden is for English speakers. Those who can't speak English wait for Fractally.
Well, Fractally requires
Wait, what?
English speakers too, doesn't it?
No, it's your EOSB is in support if they can't speak English as of right now.
Cool. And Fractally is coming.
Yeah.
I just want to add this to the Eden process. So Eating on EOS, as we can see, has brought forth so many leaders to the community. After the blue papers, I saw that we needed a lot of leaders, a lot of organizations and people that can help steer the ship. So I hope that with Eating on EOS continuing, hopefully we will get more ideas, more leaders, and it will help the ecosystem.
And so part of selecting leaders are DAO tools and platforms for groups to better organize and fund themselves. With the bees are looking for a platform to better organize. We're on spreadsheets right now, and it's quite painful. And so I see a lot of value in Fractally and Haifa. And as I was looking into the two, I saw some differences, but good differences, like they complement each other. To me, Haifa is really good at organizing a group and customizing how you want to be organized. And Fractally is really good at funding a group, getting liquidity for a group's token. And I think that is like the killer application for EOS, Haifa plus Fractally.
There is a recent video out from Reiki from Haifa, I think just earlier this week, and or maybe it was last week, but basically showing how they've upgraded their tool. They built that, like they've been working on this thing for like 3 years, and they built it out of their own necessity, requiring it to build and do their own DAO thing, which is the seeds regenerative ecosystem thing. So, and then they realized, hey, wait, looks like other people need to build DAOs too. So they've now made it so it's like a DAO builder with templates, and you can go in and you basically can create a DAO, and you can set up how you'd like to do your governance with a governance token, and how is it issued, and is there a decay of voting strength over time, and treasury, like they have all this, the holonic circles of like roles and responsibilities and pay grades, and it's very comprehensive.
So much modularity. It's crazy.
3 years. Yeah. They got 3 years of effort in real world use case, like for their own ecosystem, that they've got this. And it's now, it's basically ready to be like a DAO creator tool on Telos. We're going to have them on the blockchain and breakfast and blockchain live stream tomorrow. So this probably won't be out tonight for people to know, but for you guys, tune in and you can ask questions of Reiki anyway. But they've got, and I agree with you, Jesse, that it's very collaborative with what Fractally is doing. And I think we all saw how it was useful for Eden, because remember at the beginning, forever ago, but it was only a few months ago, we were like trying to set up these, like before the first election, this like idea of circles and trying to do this holacracy style approach to create roles within Eden so we can like function like an organization versus 6 different people all doing our own project. And here we are in the last, the 5th month of our term trying to figure out what it is we just now settled on our mission statement. So it's like, we saw like, oh, Haifa is perfect. Let's bring this in and it can help kind of organize Eden beyond just the election process. It still exists, but yeah, not much progress really.
Yeah, actually that would help with contract upgrade authorization DAO. You know, if you have something like that, if you have like people that want to be a DAO to help make sure that smart contracts are verifiable, so we can have a DAO that does that. And then you can also have like the API, like a DAO for the public API. So a DAO is like a very critical thing right now.
Yeah, there are, I think, 2 or 3 proposals in the first 4 blue papers that all require some form of decentralized organization to help manage them. And in some cases, some of those proposals overlap, could be the same DAO or whatever word you want to use that could be managing those. So we definitely do need systems to be able to do that. There's another one coming out in the Wallet Plus paper early next week that'll need some sort of system to help govern it. Potentially more than one, depending on how you approach the projects coming out in Wallet Plus.
As I just got great news, I want to share our Tippet integration for Swarms version 1.0 is ready. I'm like elated right now. I don't know if you can tell by my face, but
Nope. Kidding.
Just got word that it's ready. It's ready to try. Been waiting for this for months. So
What's that going to look like? What's that going to?
Oh, it's gonna unleash the power of the bees. We've been hamstrung by a technical limitation because our swarms, they're very difficult to compensate for And there's also an economic challenge because each swarm action is very low value and cost and time. So there's not a strong incentive to do it. But if we do it in aggregate, it's actually very high value because of how the social media algorithms work. And so automating these two things that Tippett is doing will take the beast to the next level.
Before we review, let me put this out there. So, we have blue papers that are out there. People who have not read it, read it. There's plenty of work available for developers, so anyone who's out there who wants to, help build the EOS ecosystem, who's watching the chief delegate meeting, just make an effort, go on the ENF's website, put your feedback in, or you can reach out to, any of the developers on EOS and try to get involved and engaged. All right. Shout out to Matthew Darwin for the great work.
I think our next step, guys, so we have 3 changes to the smart contract that we've agreed upon. We should share it in the delegates channel and then in the private main Eden channel and get some feedback on it.
Just it's actually 4 things: the mission statement, the pay,
Right.
the fees, and the election frequency. Do I want to? Should I share this whole spreadsheet that has a bunch of things, so maybe more people will throw in some ideas, or do we just want to let them know of the ones that we
both? I would like to propose this 2/3
Right.
plus 1 of all members needs to be changed, in my opinion.
To change
because
the
of
peace
there's
treaty, you mean?
changed on the peace treaty. Yeah, it's very unreasonable. It's got to be a 2/3 plus 1 of like election participants, for example, not of
That makes
total
sense.
members. And I send us off, Lovejoy.
Yeah, I guess I'll just do I don't have a book in front of me, but here's one of my favorite.
We've done a lot today, more than we've done in the past.
Here's one of my,
This is our most productive meeting.
It's story time now.
yeah,
Yeah.
but we've been leading up. This is all these meetings prior to this were like the grist for this moment, so.
That's awesome.
All right, here's a quote that I really like. If you wish for a pearl, you must leave the desert and wander by the sea. And even if you never find the gleaming pearl, at least you won't have failed to reach the water.
Oof, smooth.
So
lovely.
see you guys next week.
Thanks, everyone.
Cheers.
Ciao, ciao.